and thrilling and chilling Thursday to each and every one of us, each and every only one of us. I've been listening to Sharon. I love the hair. Check you out, sis.
It's
I
a
love
wig.
it. Thank you.
I
Thank
need
you.
wigs.
I
I don't
love it. Thank you. We all need something, different here,
I
here and
wear
there.
hats, wigs,
just
whatever.
just to remind us. Yeah, I own a bunch and don't use them, but anyway, it's a beautiful day to live in a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. I took Lovable out for a walk this morning, and I'm telling you, the cold was to the bone. It's 25 degrees out there, which, yeah, I've done 25 before. I've gone out walking, but it went right through me this morning, and which just reminds me that I am not my body, because I'm telling you, it went from one end straight to the other end. My body, it passed right through. I am not this body. And Lovable, who had on his nice little hoodie, he actually ran to the door to get in. It was cold out there this morning. All right. So anyway, we are here as we always are to talk about a Course in Miracles meets Science of Mind. And all right. So I'm going to share my screen for our usual intro. As soon as I'm in slow mo. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Not yet. I will not be sharing my screen yet, but that's okay. Um, so I will begin as I always do, commenting that this is a course in mind training. We to mind your mind. Dr. Ernest Holmes says that to learn how to think is to learn how to live. Course in Miracles teaches that this is a course in mind training, that all learning involves attention and study at some level. And it reminds us also that an untrained mind can accomplish nothing. I am going to put another quote from Dr. Ernest in the chat for whoever happens to be here. Multitasking, 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 and that's fine. Dr. Ernest also writes that thoughts and things are but two ends of the same proposition. Since it is impossible to stop thinking, we cannot stop creating. Our choice is whether we shall create constructively or destructively. And the Course reminds us that the mind, of course, doesn't stop, which is what this is saying. The mind doesn't stop, and that the thoughts are not idle, and that all thoughts produce form at some level. Yeah. Came across that one this morning. I thought, I want to use that today. So let me see. Um, do I have screen sharing yet? No. Okay. Um, so we were talking about, well, before I do that, let me go in the room and see who's here and whose ear is in. Good morning, Glorian. Love you. Lynn and Dove and Christopher and Carrie. Love you, Carrie. Good morning. And Sharon, of course, again, I love you too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I have a whole hour and a half, and so far I saw Sharon pop in, pop out. I sure would love some conversation this morning, but let's see how this goes because I'm kind of jumping
Zoom in.
around a
Could
little.
you hear me?
I hear you, babe. Thank you. I'm glad.
I
Okay, I
don't
know
know
you're
where I
here.
am though. See, because I'm still on your thing, but I don't see myself anymore.
I see your name. You'll figure it out. You may have accidentally turned off your
Yeah,
view.
I do that. I do that.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
I'm here
It's
though if
fine.
you want to talk.
But I know you're here. All right, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And we'll love to hear your input today. So, um, so we were doing last, for the last week or so, we had been talking about prayer, and I'm kind of going away from that. I think I'm about finished with that topic for now. Although there is a section in from Living the Science of Mind that I may or may not relate to later. Meanwhile, though, I'm talking about couple things that came across in this from the science of from the Living the Science of Mind. There is yet another book. There are several books. Dr. Ernest wrote a myriad of books, but Living the Science of Mind, which is, fortunately, a lot of these teachings today have a living book. We started with Living the Infinite Way from Joel Goldsmith, which I absolutely loved, loved, loved. I keep that book handy. I mean, literally handy. It's an eye shot. Um, there's a Living the Course in Miracles by Dr. John Mundy, and Living the Science of Mind from Dr. Ernest Holmes. Writings that I learned were from an extension course that we did, that he had put together way back. Well, the copyrights, the original copyrights go back to the 60s. Go back to the 60s, or maybe even no. 19, let's say. Anyway, um, way back in the early 60s, um, late 50s, Dr. Ernest Holmes had put together a study course. It was called an extension, well, they called it an extension study course, which was called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life originally. And that became the tagline. Okay, I must be in the room. I'm hearing a crazy echo. All right, it stopped. Yeah. And that became the tagline for the religious science/science of mind: change your thinking, change your life. And from that, numerous books, they all say something very similar. Wayne Dyer has one: change your thoughts, change your life. Somebody else has change your. There are numerous books have come out. I was looking at some of those titles a few weeks ago and just laughing at, copyright laws are such that if you use the same words, more than 5 words, you're infringing on copyright laws. So you can add a word like, where one text says cause and effect are one, and the other says cause and effect really are one. And adding that one word, something like that has actually makes it okay. Makes it okay and does not infringe on copyright laws. But I have a lot of fun with looking at different passages that say exactly the same thing, adding a word or two to make it copyrightable. Anyway, so I came across a piece from Living the Science of Mind. It says that common sense and science must be applied to religious and spiritual things as to everything else, but we can no longer monotonously repeat, "Thus saith the Lord," because of certain proclamations of some of the early prophets. We must analyze their statements to see whether they are speaking from divine patterns or from the inertia of human thought patterns which they had unconsciously inherited. And the reason why this particular passage came up is because I was reading also in Living the Science of Mind about different religious leaders, if you will, who spoke different religious things. And one was about, I believe it was Martin Luther, who said that he had seen the devil. And if that's the belief that you're taking with you in the first place, then surely you're going to see that. Beliefs, we know, is really, in the middle of the word belief is the word lie. We make up things, don't realize that we're making them up, and then we call that our truth, and we live based on that that we're believing that we've called truth that really isn't true. Because if it's true, it has to be true for everyone. Everyone. Oh, I think I see McKaylee. Hey, McKaylee, welcome. Um, yeah, so the truth has to be true for everyone. If it says that he saw the devil, and people who were followers of this man's teachings, absolutely. Well, there has to be a devil. He said so. Well, you know, any one of us can say we see something that's not there. I can, sit here and say that I see a book moving, which I don't, but that I see a book moving, and based on that, well, to think that, oh well, Zulma said the book was moving, so that means that books can move. Okay, now I have to pray harder so I can make a book move too. That's this kind of nonsense that we do to ourselves. We take a person and we worship them. We end up idolizing this person and their words and their beliefs, and that's something that I think we have to be really, really careful about. There is no, and we all have our favorite teachers and all that, but we have to be careful, remembering that the teachings that they're teaching is coming from that same divine mind that we all have. And regardless of whether it's a Rupert Spira or Ken Wapnick or Marianne Williamson or Kate Greaves or Byron Katie, or I mean Wayne Doc. I can go on and on and on with all these names that we all are aware of. Or Joel Goldsmith. I have my favorites. I have my favorites, as we all do. But we have to remember that they too were people, and that they are drawing from the same divine mind that we are. The difference between them and us, like Jesus, is that most of the time, more often than not, they are engaging with God, engaging with God. That's basically it. Where me, I'm getting caught up in the book that's over there on the shelf, or the whether or not this have enough sound in this room, or just whatever. It's what we do to ourselves. It's what we do to ourselves. So it's being very careful not to go into idol worship. The course very clear speaks very, very clearly about that. To seek not outside yourself. So it's not in our best interest to look at any particular person as being the one. There is no the one. There is only one. I do have screen sharing privileges now. Thank you, Lynn. So I'm going in. And this is what I just read. Common sense and science must be applied to religious and spiritual things, because we need to be able to prove to what we know to be true. We're proving it over and over and over again. We talk about seeing the miracle, seeing the result of the miracle. That's proof, and it's more than theory. It's more than just a belief. It's a knowing. I see it. I see it. I see it. I see the difference. I hear the difference. And this is me looking or listening with a spiritual ear, more so than a physical one, looking beyond the body. And I love that idea. Anyway, it's something I came across. I just wanted to share it. So today we are going to look at part of, because I have to go with the part of the principle that applies that I can draw from. Miracle principle number 13 from the course that teaches miracles are both beginnings and endings, and so they alter the temporal order. They are always affirmations of rebirth, which seem to go back, but really go forward. They undo the past in the present and thus release the future. I drew from that. I'm focusing primarily on that miracles undo the past and the present and release the future. The course, Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes, and most of the quotes today, unless there's a page number, if you're looking at it on the screen, the page numbers are coming from the Science of Mind text. If it's coming from Living the Science of Mind, I've noted that as well. Again, anything in purple is Ernest Holmes's writings. Anything in blue is coming from A Course in Miracles. And so Dr. Ernest writes that the universe holds nothing against us. And we know that. We know that. But this is, something that he wrote back in the 1920s and then again in the 30s. The universe holds nothing against us. God holds nothing against us. God does not forgive because God does not condemn. God is life. Life does not punish us. Life doesn't give us, doesn't bless us, so to speak, with good and punish us with bad. That's not the case. Life simply is. God simply is. It's simply, the universe simply is. We should erase the thoughts of yesterday, Dr. Ernest writes in the Science of Mind text. We should erase the thoughts of yesterday that would rob us of today's happiness. There is nothing arising out of the past that can disturb me. This is in the form of a prayer. There is nothing arising out of the past that can disturb me. The past, the present, and the future are one unbroken stream of good. I loose all thoughts that in the past have caused anxiety. The spirit knows no past and is not affected by the belief in any way. Oh, is not affected by the belief in any, that is, of past. The past is swallowed up in a victory of a perfect present, which is filled with love and protection. And out of that came to me the thought from the course that talks about um, how could you who are so holy suffer? That's from chapter 5, section 4, paragraph 8. How can you who are so holy suffer? And it's the next sentence that really it reads, all your past except its beauty is gone. All your past except its beauty is gone, and nothing is left but a blessing. I have saved all your kindnesses and every loving thought you ever had. I have purified them of the errors that hid their light and kept them for you in their own perfect radiance. They are beyond destruction and beyond guilt. And I'm holding right there. We're letting go of the past that hurt. I don't choose to talk about the stories in any detail anymore. Maybe a brief overview for somebody who may not know, may not know, quote my story, or at least pieces of it, just enough to give you that feeling of, all right, I understand where she's coming from. This sentence, you can't read what's on page 37 without reading what's on page 22. So sometimes I have to give you a piece of page 22 so that you can understand page 37, or at least to understand where I am today. And good morning, Brother Regis. We're working with parts of Miracle Principle number 13. We're talking about time today, at least for the moment. We're talking about time. Glad you're here. So, so the Miracle Principle says that it undoes the past in the present and releases the future. The Science of Mind text, Dr. Ernest is writing that the past, the present, and the future are one unbroken stream of good. And they're both right, because we get to choose, as I'll read somewhere else, that the past is just memory. It's just memory. It's not a real period of time. It's not here anymore. And that's why we talk about the illusion. When we talk about the illusion of time, we're talking about the fact that we think that there are actual breaks in it. Oh, there was yesterday, because yesterday was called February 14th, and today is called February 15th, and tomorrow is called February 16th, and we think we're talking about past, present, and future. But it's just a continual, it's continuous. It's continuous. If we, in the Bible, it says evening and morning were the first day and the second day and up to the seventh day, whatever. But if we woke up tomorrow morning and no one told us, we didn't look at a clock, we didn't turn on a radio, we didn't, come on here, and nobody said, today is such and such, unless there's some kind of physical evidence, Tuesday is the day that the sanitation department comes by. So I would happen to know that, if I see stuff outside that the sanitation department, but then what about when it snows and then they don't come and pick up and the next day it's still there? The point is that unless we we go by our socialization and we look at calendars and clocks and things, we don't know where in time we are because we're not in time. It's an illusion. It's always continuous. It's just a continuous daylight, night, day, night, morning, evening. No, it actually says evening, morning. We don't know. We don't know. So it's really an unbroken stream of good. And it's an unbroken stream of good because it's an unbroken stream of God. It's an unbroken stream of spirit. It's an unbroken stream of life. There is no time. That's why it's called a vast illusion. So the miracle principle is actually saying that it's not undoing the past itself, it's undoing helping us undo our thoughts of the past, because with the miracle comes a change of mind, a change of focus. So it's not the past itself that's going away. It's already gone. It doesn't exist, but it's our thoughts of it. So, and to realize that it's only where we breathe, the moment where I'm having my breath, that's the only now there is. And there's no point in worrying about, what's to come. I don't know if I'm going to have a breath in the moment that is to come. So I may as well just enjoy this breath and this now. The past is swallowed up in victory, Dr. Ernest writes. The past is swallowed up in the victory of a perfect present, which is filled with love and protection. Filled with love and protection. And again, the universe holds nothing against us. We are always in the now. Any comments at this point? Okay,
I
I'll
love
move
everything
on.
you're sharing.
Thank you, Sharon.
Can you
Sharon
see
with the
me
share.
now?
I see you now. I see you quite well.
All right, because I don't know why I disappear, but I guess that's what I do all day.
We appear and we disappear. Isn't that wonderful? We remember that we're not a body. That's the best disappearance yet. When we remember that we are not a body, and we suddenly, we look beyond everything, and all we see is the light around it. It's fantastic. Michaeli, good morning. Hi.
Oh, good morning. I love your sharing, and it just really goes in line with today's lesson 46. God is the love in which I forgive, and forgiveness can truly be called salvation. I just love your sharing. It's just beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Wait, something happened here. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Something, I tapped something and something happened. All right. That's not happening anymore. I appreciate that. But yes, let's take a quick look at that since you brought it up. Let's take a really quick look at today's workbook lesson. And a reminder that now is the only aspect of time that has meaning. Now, in chapter 4, it says now has no meaning to the ego, means nothing to the ego. It because we're taught to think that we have to live for yesterday in pain or in tomorrow in pain. In pain. Either way, in pain. Workbook lesson 46, God is the love in which I forgive, which I've just said. God does not forgive because he is never condemned. And that was the first thing I said. I don't even know if you were here when I said that, Michaeli, in the very first sentence at the top here, but Ernest Holmes, the universe holds nothing against us. God holds nothing against us. There is no time. There's no time to hold on to anything with. That's the thing. There is no time, what we call holding a grudge. I say, can you show it to me? Show me the grudge. Let me see it. And you open your hand, there's nothing there. What the heck are you holding? You're holding nothing, believing it's something. And that is the illusion. That is the fantasy. That's what's not real. That's it right there. So God doesn't forgive because he's never condemned. And there must be condemnation before forgiveness is necessary. I'm gonna move through this a little bit. Those who forgive are releasing themselves from illusions. You're not holding a grudge. There's no grudge there to hold. Those who forgive are releasing themselves from illusions, while those who withhold forgiveness are binding themselves to them. As you condemn only yourself, so do you forgive only yourself. Further down, fear condemns, love forgives. Forgiveness can truly be called salvation. It's just letting go. You can't, it's like carrying.
You're gonna eat. Yes, we are. We are. We are.
Sharon, please mute yourself.
Oh, I'm talking to my dog. I'm sorry.
Never mind. I muted her. I did it. I got it. Um, um, yeah, so it's like carrying, walking around carrying a 20-pound weight, and you're carrying it and carrying it and carrying it, and then your arms start, your hands start to hurt, and your arms start to hurt, and your shoulders start to hurt, and your neck starts to hurt because you're carrying. At any point in time, you can say, I don't want to carry this anymore. I can let it go. But no, we hold on. We hold on. So Dr. Ernest, continuing from where he was reading on where I was reading on page 246, he talked about oops. Let's get rid of stuff here. All right. We were just reading about the past, but equally, we must not have fear for the future. In the form of a prayer, I see that the future is bright with promise. It beckons me forward into a more complete realization of my own worth and my rightful place in the universe. All my tomorrows will be happy and filled with harmonious occupations. And the reason why is because my tomorrows are today. Every response we make is determined by what we think we are, and what we want to be must determine every response we make. It's from chapter 7 in the course. Every response we make. What we want to be must determine every response we make. It says what we want to be is what we are. When I'm saying I want to whatever, the thought is already here. It begins right here. And being and having are the same thing. What I want to be, I already have. I already am that, because the fact that I could even think that is saying we get caught up. We don't have enough, what is it? Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements, talking about being impeccable with your word. He's not talking about, being honest with you out there. He's talking about being honest with me in here. So if I'm saying that, I am a child of God, and I am light, and I see the face of God in you, and I'm spirit, and you are too, and there's nothing to be saved from. And then I'm going around yelling and screaming and freaking out. I'm giving myself a chance to forget that. However, it's all for our learning. It's all for our good. Every bit of it is for our good. It's all love, regardless of what we call it. The yelling, the screaming, the laughing, the dancing, the kissing, the hugging. It's all love. It's still all love. We cannot say that God is in part of it and not in all of it. God is it. It is all of it. Every bit of it is still God. And I was hearing Regis talk about that the other day, and I was just nodding. My camera wasn't on, but I was just sitting here nodding and say, "Yep, that's exactly it." We talk about that we're not thinking with God, but the fact is, and I'll have to find where it came from the course, where it's written that every thought that we think is with God. Now, we may not think it is, because we think, oh, that's a bad thought. Oh, this is awful. Oh, I'm not, I'm getting ready. I'm thinking about killing somebody, and we think that we're not thinking. The ability to think, the ability has come from our source. Ideas don't leave their source. And I am an idea in the mind of God. I am in God. I live in it. I live in it. I move in it. I have my being in it. And that's everything. Whether I'm happy and laughing and joking and extending and everybody's, everybody's kumbaya, or if, I'm in the, I want to cuss you behind out mode. It doesn't matter in that regard. It's still all God. The for me, for me, it's how am I seeing it? How am I seeing it? With what mind am I thinking? Am I giving this, it's not real mind, the ego thought system? Am I giving it light? Am I encouraging it? Am I continually talking about it? Or am I recognizing that I have a choice to think differently, that I have a choice to be in pain or not? I have a choice. But either way, it's still all God. The ability to choose is still all God. So I will continue with this reading. I've been talking quite a while. Equally, we must not have fear for the future. But back to the prayer. I see that the future is bright with promise. It beckons me forward into a more complete realization of my own worth and my rightful place in the universe. All my tomorrows will be happy and filled with harmonious occupations, if I want them to. I look to the future with great pleasure, with great I look to the future with great and pleasurable anticipation, knowing it will expand my opportunity for radiant self-expression. I love my past and my future and understand that they are but continuations of the one unbroken chain of life. That's a good point. There are no breaks in life. Life simply is. It's continuous. It's continuous. So, we say, oh, it's a new day, but it's really just one continuous flow. We just call it evening and we call it morning. And that would go back to the writers, the original writers of the Bible, who didn't have the hmm, a lot of the knowing. They haven't, a lot of the things that are proven today had not yet been proven. What we call science, not that there weren't scientists, because long before the Bible was written, we know in Egypt there was definitely um science, but the things that were written, that we have in writing, particularly from the Bible, when it refers to one day and another day, these separations of time. There's no time and there is no separation. So continuations of one unbroken chain of life. There is no future to be afraid of and no past to bring discord into the present. There's a workbook lesson that says the past is over and it can touch me not. It can't touch me because it's not here. It can't touch me because it's not here. It's only my thoughts about it that give it any reality, if you will. More about time from Living the Science of Mind. If clear reasoning does not deliver the perception of the allness of truth, and if truth is a synonym for God, then we may say God is all there is. Because truth is all there is. There's truth, and then there's nothing. There's the Holy Spirit, and then there's nothing thought system. There's the true thought system, and then there's no thought system. And what we're calling no thought system is the one that we're calling the ego thought system. What we're calling, lies, made up stuff. It's the hallucinations, the fantasies, the wish world, the should house. And we may add that it is impossible to conceive any opposite, otherness, difference, unlikeness in what we call the past, which is memory, in what we call the present, which is experience, or in the future, which is anticipation. And there's a passage in the Course that says, Look at what you're afraid of. Only the anticipation will frighten you. That's a big one. I'd like to talk about that. Look at what you're afraid of. When I am afraid of, when I think that, something is going to happen and I'm thinking that it's going to be a certain way, I'm making up stuff. I'm making up a story, clearly. Dr. Ernest talks about, he says that fear and faith come from the same place because they are both believing in something that we can't see. We're calling, and then in the Bible it talks about calling it as if it were. Oh, I'm scared that such and such is going to happen. That's calling it into existence. That's calling it into, I've made it real in my mind. I've made it real in my thoughts. And I'm seeing it and I'm using it to become afraid, and my body tenses up and I start perspiring, and I become paralyzed in my ability to move forward, and all of this based on a story that I made up, based on a boogeyman that I have created. Look at what you're afraid of. Only the anticipation will frighten you. And Thomas Troward says that principle is not bound by precedent. What happens today, later today, then the next moment is not bound by what happened last week, last year, yesterday, this morning, a minute ago. The past does not determine the present. These are choices that we're making. So if I'm afraid of something, it's based on something that I think that based on some past experience, because we're taught in the course that we're never upset for the reason we think. Never upset for the reason we think. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. We're never upset for the reason we think. So we are focusing on something that's not there and attempting to make it real. So it goes on to say the past is memory, the present is experience, and the future is anticipation. For the past, present, and future are but a continuity upon which is threaded the sequence of experience. I'd like to make that a little bit bigger for my own benefit. And I didn't do the right thing. It doesn't matter. So he goes on in a different place saying, if God is all there is, then past, present, and future time, experience, and form, if they exist at all, must exist as some part of truth. Now, this is based on what we call yesterday. This jacket that I have on is something that I acquired not the moment I put it on. I bought it at a store some time ago, some time ago, sometime in the past. Okay, I lost Sharon and now she's back. Welcome back, Sharon.
You.
Yes, and Regis wrote, and wait a minute, let's see. Dove wrote in the chat that God is. It's an isness. It's an isness. There is no wasness. There is no gonna be-ness. I'm not gonna be, I am. Ooh, I'm glad that's recorded. I'm not going to be, I am. I am. You are. Life is. God is. It's an isness. And Joel Goldsmith says, and don't try to, put it in a box and define it. God is this, God is that, God is the other. God is everything. So it doesn't matter, it would be redundant. You would have to literally call everything. You would have to name every single anything ever, anywhere to call it God. It's everything. God is. Life is. We don't say life is uh the tree, but not the bird. We don't, we call it all life. We call it all life. And as I look at this notebook in front of me, that came from the tree that we called life, the notebook is life. And the course teaches that God is part of is in every living thing, every living thing. So everything, whether it moves or whether it doesn't, this energy that as Einstein called it, these atoms, this energy field that we are, source energy, as Susan Michelle says, it is simply all God. And then Regis wrote that marking time is made up by humans. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, it is. I can go into that some more, but I think I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to leave that one right there. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can see it better. Okay. So if God is all there is, then past, present, and future time, experience, no, yeah, experience and form, if they exist at all, must exist as some part of truth. And from the miracle principle number 14, miracles bear witness to truth. I see your hand, Regis. Give me a minute. If this truth is all there is, we also must be included in it. And we should identify ourselves with it. Thus, the allness of truth automatically includes the reality of our being. Regis wanted to speak to time, I think. Regis, I saw your hand. Come to talk to me, brother.
Yeah, you on top of it today. Yeah, I did want to speak to time. You said, well, I won't go into that right now. I said, well, I'll go into it for you. But, humans mark time, and what we know, I've been noticing this. What we know and what we make up, we think is good and smart and wise, but it always comes back, if you notice, and kicks us in the butt. So we'll say stuff like, oh, I didn't get anything done today. And we feel bad. We feel like, oh, I was a bum, I was lazy, I was unproductive. So the question is, what day? When was this day that I didn't get nothing done? Because,
That's good.
like you say, we've made up these days, we've made up all this stuff that we think we know. The ego thought system, which you always tell us is not a person, a devil, or demon, it's just a thought system. And this system always comes back and bites us in the butt. We make up, as you were saying, it's an isness, as Dove was saying, we make up love. I'm now, I really don't like for people to ask me, do you love me? Because in truth, my thing is, most of the time, it's like, I don't know what love is. So I don't even understand the question. I don't even know when you ask me, do I love you? I can't define love. So I don't really know what you're talking about. It's very difficult for me to feel like I'm giving an honest answer. So you got an idea made up of love. This the last donut. It's in my hand. It's on my plate. We sitting at the round table, and you asked me for the donut, and I said no. So now you questioning, do I love you? Because I wouldn't give you the damn donut. Are you serious? But see, I have made up a definition or image of what I think love is, and now it's biting me in the butt. It's biting me in the butt because what we think we know and what all this stuff we make up and we try to define God and try to define love, it comes back and bites us in the butt. But in the isness, love is. That's all. Love is. So, do you love me? I'm like, I don't know. When you ask, honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I don't know. And that typically hurts a person's feeling because they think they have to find love and they know what it is. And so if I give my true answer, I don't know. I'm here right now. Just can you just enjoy that? How am I treating you right now? You know, what I tell my wife often, I'm like, honey, how can I always I give everybody know I give gifts. I send you stuff in the mail. If I think about you and I want to give you something, I send it. I buy it, I send it to you. I don't wait for Christmas. I don't wait for birthdays. This is so how can you think well of someone or how can you not be thinking well of someone and you showing them that they always on your mind? You always doing acts of kindness. You always presenting them with, oh, I was thinking about you. I bought you this. I was thinking about this. I bought you a French fry. I was thinking about this. I brought you a cup of coffee. Whatever,
Yes.
you know. So that's the isness. That's me being in the isness of whatever it is I call I am. you know. So I've just been thinking about lately how all of our definitions of today, tomorrow, I'll wake up and we say, oh, I want breakfast, and somebody say it's 12 o'clock. I'm just breaking fast. I've been in the bed for 12 hours. I've been in the bed for 12 hours. I got up, got dressed. Now it's 13 or 14 hours. And I'm just breaking fast. But we so caught up in all of these definitions and stuff that we made up. And it's the thought system. That's all it is. It's the thought system. And the thought system is always creating havoc. It feels like it's working and then it doesn't. That's why sometimes we feel like a nut, sometimes we don't. Thanks, Zuma.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I do that same thing about breakfast. It blows me away. Blows me away. I will go to IHOP at whatever time of the evening if I feel like it, and I will order the eggs and the pancakes and the sausage. And how come they don't make a big deal of that at IHOP? You know what I mean? In some places, that's a big deal. Well, because you're having eggs now. Well, what about if you have egg salad later? Is that still not an egg? What if you're having a beef patty or a sausage patty or whatever later? Is that still not the same as what? What's the difference? It really, I'm with you. It's breaking the fast, but you and I can get technical like that. And but I like what you said about a person asking, about love and whatnot, because I don't know is a hurt feeling response. And usually these people, yeah, you're right, it would hurt somebody's feelings. But another way to what came to mind when you said that is like, by what definition? Do I love you about what definition? How do you define love? The same way I ask people how they define God before we can have a conversation. How do you define that? And this is why communication is so important. That's why this communication device that we have is so important, because the only way I can know what your definition is and my definition is, and again, we're defining it. So we're encapsulating it. But before I can know what you think love is and what I think love is, that's something we need to talk about, and not just in other areas as well. But that's important. That's very important, because if you say you say you bring me a cup of coffee, and then you find out that coffee is not good for my esophagus. I don't drink the caffeinated stuff, and one of two things can happen. You can say, "Oh, I didn't know." Next time, if you choose to have it, do it next time. You may bring some decaffeinated or herbal tea, whatever. Or you can say, "Oh, well, the heck with her. Shoot, I call myself doing a nice gesture, and she's the importance of communication, the importance of communication." But we don't want to communicate. We don't want to communicate. We don't want to talk about the real things that we feel are important to us, because what might be important to me this is what, the course teaches all over the place. What may seem important to me, we give all the meaning that things have for us. And what means something to me may not mean a hill of beans to you. You might love, you may love the espresso. I think that's the one where it was really strong and, make it strong to the point where, I could smell it down the street. And I'm down the street, hacking, from the very smell of it because it's too strong for me. Are you going to get upset with me because I can't handle the smell of your cup of coffee? Same thing. I had a person in my car yesterday who smoked cigarettes, not in my car, but I could smell it. I used to be a nicotine user, and today it literally affects me whether if you're smoking the cigarette, whether I'm smelling the smoke from you on you after you've smoked the cigarette. It's a gentleman, he found out that he's been told that he has a year to live. I talked about it anyway. I said, you can shorten that if you want to, by by keeping on with those cigarettes. It became a conversation. The point is that he didn't get upset because I said to him, if you're going to smoke before you get into my car, try to do it, or crack the window, because he was sitting in the back seat anyway. Crack the window, because that's affecting me. He didn't get angry about it, nor did I tell him he can't smoke his cigarette. You know what I mean? But these are conversations that need to be had. Because if I'm looking out for my benefit, but that doesn't mean I'm not looking out for yours. I'm calling myself a teacher of God. So I'm actually looking out for the benefit of all of us. If I don't tell you, it's not to your benefit. If I don't tell you, it's not to mine. So yeah, we're too afraid. We're too afraid to be ourselves, or we're too afraid to express to someone what it is that we're really feeling, or even to say I don't understand. Because if somebody, if that whole thing, do you love me? First of all, obviously, I'm having a lack of love moment to ask that question. I'm having a lack of love moment. And of course, it teaches that only what we don't give is what's missing. What's lacking is what's missing. What we don't give. What's lacking is what we don't give. So for me to question whether or not you love me is me not feeling loved. And then me projecting it onto you with my interpretation, with my definition of what I think love is. That ain't fair. That's not fair to the person being questioned. And you're right, what does that mean? What do you mean, do I love you? At what moment are you talking about? Teaching love all the time, however it comes out. Brought that up earlier. However it comes up, teaching love all the time. If I'm arguing with you, it's you I want to talk to. If I'm talking sweet to you, it's you I want to talk to. My decision to want to even be in your company is about love. I'm recognizing the oneness of us right here and right now, in a physical sense. In this moment, you're the person I want to talk to. You're the person I want to argue with. You're the person that I want to clear this thing up with. You're the person that, I don't want to have this distance that I'm feeling. This feeling of distance. I want to clear it up. You. And I might say something in a way that doesn't sound good to you, which I just, had one of those conversations. The way I said it might not, go for content. Go for content. Don't go for form, because that creates a problem too. When we go for form, we're always going to find separation. The person who, I had somebody, I was listening to a young lady talk about the fact that she believes that for Valentine's Day, that there should be, well, I'll say this. She believes in an exchange. She likes to make the chocolate covered strawberries and made a cake that, in the shape of a heart, that she wants to give to whoever is, is her Valentine, whoever that person is, or people are, because I got a piece of that cake. It was good. She believes in exchanging because, we hear all the time that, Valentine's Day is a time for the man or the one person to give a gift to another. And no, does that mean no? That's a whole other conversation. That's a waste. That's a waste of time conversation for me right now. Let me see if I can go back to the screen. How can I do this? I want to go back to the screen. I want to go back to screen sharing. But you brought up the really good point, Regis. How people define love. Do you love me? Well, how come you did this for somebody, but you didn't do that for me? Feel like it. That's where I was at the time. And for you to tell me basically that I should have, that's what you're saying, that I should have done it for you because I did it for them too. I don't have to. I'm doing what I want, what feels right to me. And for you to now ask for it doesn't make me feel like it's something I want to do for you. Mm-hmm. All right, that's a whole other thing. But that's really it. When my acts of we call it, it's not a random act of kindness, it's not a random act of love if I'm doing it because you're asking for it. Okay. If God is all there is, then past, present, and future time, experience, and form, if they exist at all, must exist as some part of truth. And miracle principle number 14, miracles bear witness to truth. If this truth is all there is, we also must be included in it. And we should identify ourselves with it. So the question isn't, do you love me? The question is that there's no question. I am love. Regardless of whether someone is expressing it physically, outwardly or not. Regardless of whether someone out there is expressing it or not, I am expressing it. I am extending love to self because I am love. Teach only love, for that is what you are. Teach only. Teach only love, for that is what you are. If this truth is all there is, we also must be included in it, and we should identify ourselves with it. We should identify ourselves with it. My worth is established by my Creator. My worth is established with every breath I take. Identifying myself with it to the degree that we grasp at it, Dr. Ernest writes, to the degree that we grasp at it, we are it. We are it. God hasn't moved. Life hasn't moved. We are not separate from our source. We cannot be separate from our source. Thus, the allness of truth automatically includes the reality with a capital R, the reality of our own being. And we're not talking about the body. It includes it ultimately because this is my communication device. When you see this communication device, you think Zulma. When I see this this communication device, I call it Zulma. Or my parents named it Zulma. It's part, it belongs to me. It belongs to me, but I'm not it. I'm, to quote Reverend Wayne over and over and over again, I have this body, but I don't take it personally. I don't take it personally. All right, let's move on. See what happens here. And okay. Looking at miracle principle number 15, which states that each day should be devoted to miracles. The purpose of time, and that's where I want to talk about time. I want to talk about that inner conviction. Where is this? I don't know where that's coming from yet. The purpose of time is to enable you to learn how to use time constructively, which goes back to what I was just reading about time. The past is the memory, the present is the experience, the future is the anticipation, and we should realize that we're in all of it. We're in all of it. If
Can I
God
say
is all
something?
there is, then past, present, and future, we have to be part of it. And I keep getting every now and then I'm hearing myself echoed back, and I don't know
Zulma,
why. Yes,
yeah, when you said the purpose of time is to use it constructively, and I was proud of you saying it. I was just sitting here thinking about again. So, is it constructive if I don't do something? I don't do anything all week. I mean, all week I just leisure. And then at the end of that, what I call a week, 7 days, 5 days, 5 working days, or whatever. And then now, oh, I didn't do anything all week. I didn't get anything done. I don't deserve to be happy now. I don't deserve to feel good about myself. That's really what we're saying. I don't deserve to feel good about myself now because I didn't do anything for 5 days or 6 days. I shouldn't feel good, so I'm gonna feel bad. So am I using time constructively or destructively when I do that?
that's a good point. Good question. So, so you rested for 5 days because see, it's really how. Remember, we can see things differently. It's about seeing things
Right.
differently. You decided to rest for 5 days, and at the end of the 5 days, you said, "Wow, I needed that rest." Stephen Covey, in his book, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the habits is sharpen the saw. Sharpen the saw. I can't give it my best if I'm not at my best. If I'm trying to cut down a tree, I'm going to cut down a tree, and I'm using this saw, but it's dull. It's taking forever. I'm having a hard time cutting this tree. But if I take time to sharpen the saw, to reinvigorate it, to do what I need to do to go be able to use it again, then when I go back to the tree, it's easier to cut. So it's really not about what we do. It's never about what we do. It's always about what we think about what we do. What we do, what others do, however, we're never upset for the reason that we think. That's an excellent point, Regis. You can, lay around for a week. And if I did, it's because I was supposed to,
Right.
as opposed to shooting on myself and not. Go ahead, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Right.
We're saying the
Because
same thing.
maybe that's what the body needed. Maybe that was taking care of ourselves. Sometimes we hurt because the body's just saying, lay me down. We go to the doctor, and the doctor say, or we have a surgery even, and the doctor say the way you get better is doing nothing, not taking medicine and popping pills. Just go home and sit your behind down and do nothing. you know. So, like you say, it's what we are thinking about. Think about what we're thinking about. If it's what we're thinking about time and how time should be used, because we're shooting all over time. So
Mhm.
we're saying, I should. So time is given to me and I should. We're not thinking, oh, I'm the inventor of time. I'm the maker up of time, not time. I'm not a victim of time. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of time. Time is not happening to me. Whatever this time is happening through me. And so who's interpreting how it should be used and how it shouldn't be used? So we're shooting all over it.
It's a great point. And in the Bible is written, man wasn't made for the Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man. Time, it wasn't, your schedule doesn't have to be my schedule. And I'm glad you brought that up in particular, Regis, because a friend of mine Nia, and I mentioned it, had made her transition the 18th of December. And I was all kinds of busy involved with that process, that whole process. I did a slideshow presentation. It was 82 slides, lots of pictures, 3, 4 pictures on the slide, and in some cases, and all this, um, and 10 days after Nia passed, the day before the service for Nia, my friend Bab passed, another member of the Center of Peace, um, a lady, a role model to me. She was, she's kind of like a Maya Angelou type person to me. And um, and Babs passed. That was 10 days later on the 28th of December. And that service is going to be held later intentionally. It's what she wanted. Uh, but the whole thing with Nia's being involved, and I'm part of that family. I am part of that family. I'm one of the people that was called in the middle of the night when Nia was still alive, when they were paddling her, when the EMTs were paddling her and all that. Anyway, I didn't have time to really sit still and go through the grief of it because I was too busy doing stuff. I was too busy looking out for the daughter and the son and the husband, making sure that they were okay. Going over there back and forth, and they live like 35, 40 minutes away from here. So it's a ride there and the ride, just doing and being. I was doing more so than being at that time. And then uh in January, all of a sudden I was feeling very lethargic. Things started happening. My body started acting in ways that required medical attention that I didn't get because of the Medicare. I don't know if I've told you that, different things were happening, one thing on top of another, that were requiring me to look at life differently, to find out if all this is just talk. If the times to look at, I had to see things differently in order to keep myself in a state of calm. Not only that, the physical thing that was happening, it stopped. It stopped because I told it to stop this. You're not, no, not doing this. Stop. And it's interesting because when this occurred back in 2021, I had to have medication for it to stop. And here I was thinking, well, when I get the Medicare, then I can call the doctor, then and I thought about that. Wait a minute, all that is seeking outside myself. And I went in. This is big because this is really big. This is big to me, what I'm talking about right now. This is big to me. And it stopped. It stopped. And appears to be quite fine. I will still have, when all that medical paperwork is checked out, I will go see a doctor to make sure that it's stopping is what I believe it is, actually stopped, and not something blocked. But anyway, but I'm really confident that it stopped. The point is that during the month of January, I was still doing my thing here, Mondays, Thursdays, still doing my thing, still doing my thing. It kept me invigorated, but otherwise I felt wiped out. I was wiped out. And I finally, it was a Tuesday. I had Tuesday into Wednesday. I had a major crying spell, major. I just couldn't pick myself up out of the feeling. I needed to be in it. I needed to be in it. I needed to feel what was going on. I'd stopped moving. I'd stopped trying to be a human doing and allowed myself to be a spiritual being. Um, and felt it. And then it was the pain, because things hit me when when it hurts, it hurts so deeply. It goes to the core. I don't know. I don't know. I'm told that empath. I don't know. But anyway, to the point where I needed to come up out of that. And again, I went in. I needed to see it differently. And I just asked to be shown how to see this differently. People say, be there for the family, and I'm thinking, but who's there for the friends? That was my thought. But who's here for the friends when they're going through the grief of having that friend? And yesterday was a great example because we referred to her as the love goddess. When it came to anything around love, Nia was the one. She was the one. Um, and I smiled. I smiled yesterday. I smiled thinking about her. Um, her husband had posted on Facebook the photograph of the day that he proposed to her, and the ring was said, and she said yes. Things like that that gave me reason to smile. But at the time I'm talking about, this was in January. I couldn't. I was in a space, and it so happened that someone that worked with her at the Center of Peace called me on Wednesday. This is Tuesday into Wednesday. Called me on Wednesday because it's so synchronistic. It's so synchronistic. The miracle principle says, for those that temporarily have more, for those who temporarily have less. And I was in the less position. And my friend Wilhelmina, she called. She was in the more position, and she knew Nia, as closely as I knew Nia. And we ended up on the phone for 2 hours. And it was exactly what I needed. We always get exactly what we need. I'm so grateful. I'm sitting here. I just had such a thankful moment. I'm getting a little misty eyed, and that's okay too. The gratitude that I have for just the awareness that anything I feel, whether it's considered good or considered bad or considered sad, it's necessary. I needed that time that you're talking about, Regis, to do nothing. I was using time constructively by doing nothing. I was using time constructively by letting myself cry and letting myself grieve and letting myself think about the fact that I couldn't pick up the phone and call Nia, and I still can't. But I needed that. I needed that. I absolutely needed that. Okay. And when it was at that point, because on page 22 of the course, it says tolerance for pain may be high, but it's not without limit. It goes on to say, there's a couple sentences after that. That's the one that stands out though. It goes on to say, eventually, everyone begins to recognize, however dimly, that there must be a better way. As this recognition becomes more firmly established, it becomes a turning point. But before that turning point, there's that do nothing period, that period of unsettling that's talked about in the manual. There's that period where it's almost like an analysis paralysis. It's almost you have to stop, to be still and know. Between the pain point and the recognition, there's that moment, that instant, holy instant, that holy instant where you just get it, where you realize, all right, I can see this differently. I've had enough of this pain. This is not this has been working. Being still has worked for my good for this time. Being in the grief of it has worked for this time. And now it's time to move something else. Collapsing time, getting rid of this, being able to let this go. And that phone call that came through, I needed that time to do nothing, to just and didn't think about it until as I was telling it, that I was so actively involved in the process for the services and stuff. up there with the family, getting information for the obituary, passing it on to the person who was actually going to write it, all that, being in touch with Reverend Twana, being, having to go to the funeral home for them to look at the PowerPoint presentation, happened to be there when they were putting doing the makeup and stuff to the body. Had never seen that before. It was wonderful though, because I was the active involvement in it was wonderful, but the being still was also wonderful and necessary, because I needed time to sharpen the saw, consciously or not. Yes, I felt like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything. I remember thinking that I just don't feel like doing anything. I just and wasn't realizing until till that night into the morning that I had that major crying spell, that's what it was. It was the culmination of that. Life happens the way it's supposed to. It ceased, as this miracle principle says, when it was no longer useful in facilitating learning. I needed to see that. Go ahead, McKaylee.
I just want to say that's beautiful, and how you're telling the story of your experience, the character of Zulma that was crying, and that you needed that, and how you're bringing in time will cease when it is no longer useful in facilitating learning. But yeah, I think too, as that's kind of the beauty of our experience of getting older. You don't want to have so much of the pain. It's like you reach your limit, which the course speaks about. Everybody has their own limit. So that's beautiful that you shared that. Thank you, Zulma.
Thank you. Thank you. It's interesting you say that we talk about as we get older, but I'm thinking of now of the moments when someone has an experience. Oprah Winfrey came to mind. I don't know why that hit me the way it did just now, but Oprah talked about having been raped when she was young, and she forgot it. It left her it left her memory. The trauma of it. It left her memory for years. She was an adult before the realization, the recognition of that situation came to her. The pain at that time was so great that she was able to go into, some might say denial. I don't know, it's denial, just absenteeism. Some people go into different personalities and things. Need to jump, little boy? You jump here. Come on, say hi. Look, say hi. Say hi. There we go. Yeah. Go ahead. Um, some people go into different personalities and things, but in her case, she just completely forgot it. That the pain can be so great. At least, the pain in our minds can be so great that we totally break that, back away from it, which is basically what that was, me deciding to, be still and all that. It was the process, not knowing that that's what it was, but it was the process of stepping away from the pain of Nia's passing, the pain of not so much her passing, because she had some physical challenges, and um but the pain of realizing I can't, that picking up the phone, I can pick up the phone if I want to, but I'm not going to get her on the other line, but those kind of conversations weren't going to happen again, that for her birthday, there's not going to be a costume party. Her birthday's near Halloween. The different things that for this holiday, this Valentine's Day holiday, that there's not going to be a whole bunch of hearts and streamers and and banners at her house and people coming over, and that's not gonna be. But you know what? I have every single one of my memories, back to what I read before. How can you who are so holy suffer? All of your past except its beauty is gone. All of the past except the beauty is gone. Because even as I'm telling this story, I'm seeing the streamers, the banners and things, and the streamers at her house. I'm seeing, all the food that she and her husband, lay out for people to come and enjoy, and how everything is red and hearts are over here. And I can see this. I can see this. And this is mine to keep forever. This is mine to keep forever. The pain of it, there's no need to be in pain, because Nia isn't physically here. Nia is every much right where she needs to be, right where she needs to be as part of the one. She is one with the one, as I am one with the one. So I am one with Nia, even in this moment. That's all I got on that. But it was, back to the point that Regis made it. We need to be still. Using time constructively doesn't mean doing something. It it's written in the course that our worth is not established by what we do. It's not established by what we do or think or say. None of that. Our worth. Come on, baby. You okay? You okay? Our worth is established by God. Come on with you. Yeah. Our worth is established by God. It's by the fact that I'm here. I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do anything to get here. My mom and daddy did that part. I'm talking about my body there. My parents did that part. They did it. I didn't. I didn't. I may have made the choice to be here, but I didn't do anything. So my worth is established by the fact that I am. My worth is established by the I am. And in and of itself, that's a phenomenal thing. So the purpose of time is to enable you to learn how to use time constructively, whatever that means in your life. It's just like when a builder is planning to well, or artist is planning to, when they're planning on constructing something. Let's say a builder is, rebuilding a kitchen or something. Before a single nail, a single hammer, or sledgehammer is put to that room, they're thinking it through. The idea, don't leave the source. We are an idea in the mind of God, and therefore we have the ability to create, because we are creators. We are co-creators. We are creators. The creation is taking place. There's no physical anything going on, but it's happening in here, where the truth resides. Getting all of the pieces together, so to speak, and not even a doing. It's not a doing. That's using time constructively. Because if a person just walks into the room, all right, I'm gonna redo your kitchen, and they go in and then they just start sledgehammer, came with sledgehammer and just start doing things, and then they're like, okay, so now what? Oh, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'll just put this a piece over here and put it and see how it goes. No, that's not how we do it. That's chaotic thinking. The course calls it chaotic thinking, disorganized thought. So we need that time. We need that time to do nothing, as Regis was, do nothing, to lay around, to just be. And that's how we remember. That's how I remember that's really what I am. I'm not a doing. I'm a being. I'm a spiritual being. I am not a human doing. That was excellent, Regis. Thank you. Yep, that came up, and that's pretty much taken up time here. The purpose of time is to enable us to learn how to use it constructively. It is thus a teaching device and a means to an end. Time will cease when it is no longer useful in facilitating learning. I don't have to, and it doesn't mean it won't happen again. But speaking for now, at this moment, I don't have a need to lay around and cry and go into all of the things that aren't going to happen again. And I don't have to do that today. I don't have to do that today. Today, I'm here to be truly helpful to me. I am here to be truly helpful to whomever I can. I am here to be truly helpful, and I don't have to worry about anything, what to say, what to think, because my source directs every move I make, every move I don't make. My source is the director, and I'm just here to surrender, and whatever, what will you have me do? I'll go. Here I am. I'll go. What I did not never knew that never didn't know how this was going to go today. You never know what anything is for. When you have too many plans, you're bound to mess up. I'm loving it. um Dr. Ernest talks about this inner conviction. Without this inner conviction, hey, we wish more than a blind acceptance. We need this inner conviction. Without this inner conviction, without this faith, no understanding would be possible. Without this inner conviction, we would be depending on hope, and hope that things work out, and maybe it will, and maybe it won't. I know it won't happen. I'm giving up the mic right now. I'm going to stop talking right now, um, because it is time for whatever's next. I love you, family. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And Lynn, here's the mic.